Okay, so we closed the last video dealing with why Yehoshua told Kepha and the disciples not to go out preaching and publicizing the fact that he was a Mashiach and that he was the one that was to come. And why weren't they allowed at that time to publish the information as heralds? And we discovered it was because of the fact that the people were waiting for a conquering king, and they were only looking at one side of the prophecies concerning the Mashiach. So let's go right back into that and look at the other side. We know the conquering king side. Most people know that side. But one of the sides that our people did not know is that we did not understand that particular side that he would suffer. And again, I believe it was because they didn't want to look at that. They didn't want to deal with that. And for the most part, it was because the suffering of Hamashiach was going to be primarily due to the sins of the house of Israel. The suffering of Hamashiach would be necessary because he would have to pay the penalty for the sins of the house of Israel. The Messiah, would have to go through this suffering part, not necessarily, just to hear what I'm saying, not necessarily because the world was so wicked. It's not really why he suffered. The reason that he really suffered was because the house of Israel, our ancestors, had broken the covenant, and he had made a promise that if we broke the covenant, that he would pay the penalty for breaking the covenant so that he could solidify the covenant once again and restore it. That's what his blood does. To all these preachers and teachers and all these people reading the Bible, they don't know that. They have no idea. But I'm telling the whole world, and I'm letting you all know. The world needs to know this. The idea of the Messiah coming here was because of a covenant made with our ancestors. Yahuwah himself, his word, made flesh, dwelt among us, to suffer on our behalf and to bleed and to die on our behalf, was a covenant promise. This wasn't something that he just decided to do at the last minute for the entire world. And I know that's what the King James says in John 3:16. I get that. But what I'm sharing with you is context. The idea of the whole world, which includes the Gentiles, the Gentile inclusion into the Hebraic or Israelite covenant is a benefit. It is a residual. It's left over. It's a benefit for the world, for the rest of the world that will believe in him. But it's not the primary reason. The primary reason was a covenant, and the reason why you can see it is in Luke chapter 9, he uses the term Son of Man. Son of Man is a covenant term. So we have to see what's actually going on here. The idea of keeping his is at this point, just for this time, of keeping the fact that he is the promised Messiah sort of under wraps, sort of secret, was in order to, number one, to stop or to hopefully not spark some type of zealous or zealot revolt against the Roman Empire that at this time Yah was not going to fight and destroy. Now that's why y'all got to stay with these videos, because I'm going to get to that in another video. But a premature fighting and a battle against the Roman Empire at this particular time would have been futile, because our Messiah would not have had an opportunity to fulfill his covenant obligation. And the covenant obligation was that he also must suffer, and he must die, he must be buried, and he must rise again. Okay, so therefore what we have here then is a progression. We're starting to see that there is a system that Abaya through Hamashiach is following, that there's already a blueprint for his life. There's already a prophetic pathway that has already been paved for the life of our King. It's already been written down. So everything in that writing must come true. Part of it is the suffering. But if there is this big rebellion, the thing's gonna get out of hand, and it would throw everything off. So the Messiah says, no. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you all the truth. And then I'm gonna do what I'm called to do. And after that, I'm going to be suffering. It's in the Bible. That's what he's trying to tell them. This is in Torah. Now, one of the videos I'm going to do is going to have these background verses. But for now, just giving you the overview. So it is in Torah that he suffers. It's in the Torah that he gives his life a ransom. That his blood is going to be shed on behalf of the covenant. That Yah is going to provide for himself a lamb. So all of those verses are true concerning him. Something that he has to do. So therefore, he says, instead of sparking a riot and a rebellion against Rome, he's like, I got to first suffer at your hands. Which is deep, because if Yahushua would have come to just exercise pure judgment, tearing down all of the powers of the world and judging them immediately, and heaven and hell being decided at that moment, at that particular moment, the house of Israel would have been condemned to death. Because at that particular time, they, as a nation, were separated from Yah by their sins. They were in rebellion to the covenant. And that is why they're under Roman occupation. That is why the false teaching and the false doctrine of the Pharisees and scribes have permeated the heart and the mind, and have replaced the actual teachings of Torah. As a matter of fact, the people despised the Torah and chose the traditions of men. At this particular time, they had rejected the teachings of Yah to follow the traditions of men. It's the same picture now. I think some of y'all can see that. So if Yahushua, when he was here, if he would have acted in the final role of Hamashiach, which is the judge and the conquering king, he would have had to kill the house of Israel. He would have had to destroy his own people, because the judgment had to begin in the house. The judgment had to first begin in the house. So What kind of judgment is in the house? The household judgment is you deserve to be destroyed, but I'm going to demonstrate my love for you. I'm going to demonstrate my commitment to the covenant, and I'm going to demonstrate once and for all how much I actually love the house of Israel and how much I actually love the remnant. I'm going to show it to you, and that is going to be displayed through the suffering. So that picture of the Messiah cannot be erased, and it can't be done away with. That part of his life, that part has to be fulfilled. Now, there's a group of people out there saying that the Messiah, they don't believe in the Messiah because the Messiah never fulfilled all of the things that are in the scriptures concerning Messiah. And that's because those are heathens. They don't know the Bible. And because they don't know the Bible, they cannot see the systematic order of the fulfillment of the covenant by our Messiah. It's systematic. That there is a beginning to him, right? There's, I should say, the beginning of his work. And then there is the teaching, the reestablishing of the kingdom, the teaching, the healing, and all that, right? And then there's also the part where he dies on behalf of the house of Israel, that he suffers by the hand of Israel, that his own people will turn on him. And we're going to see that later. But that's part of the prophecy concerning him. And so he was trying to tell the disciples, we're not there yet. We're not we are at that point here. Let me say that again. He was trying to explain to the disciples of where he was in the systematic order of the life of the Messiah. This was not the time where he was going to destroy the European powers, destroy the wicked beast, bring down. That wasn't the time. There is a time he's going to do it, which is now. He's doing it now. He's getting ready to do that completely. But at that point, it was like, but before I do that, I have to die for the sins of my people. And I got to shed my blood so that, and suffer and die. I got to be wounded for their transgression and bruised for their iniquity. The chastisement of their peace. It's going to have to be upon me, because it'll be by my stripes that they're healed. So therefore, that's Isaiah. So, and most of us know that chapter, but we don't know that that's about the remnant. We don't, they make that about everything and anything, but that's not what that passage is about. This passage is relating to that because he uses the covenant title, Son of Man. All right? Very, 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 very important that they see that. All right. So he uses that term and he says, I must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and be slain and raised on the third day. So here you have, once again, biblical prophecy. The idea of his death, burial, and resurrection was not haphazard. It was not accidental. It was not something made up on the spot. No, it's not what happened. He didn't come down here and was like, oh man, people are so bad, I guess I'll try to do whatever I can. No, he already knew the plan, because we study in the Bible later that the plan is his plan. That's what makes it so magnificent, so marvelous, so wonderful, that the plan of salvation is his plan. And he has to work this plan. This is, the Bible talks about, he's the author and the finisher of our faith. So the idea is that he is the one that designed this plan. And then he ran the plan himself. And then he finished it. And now he finished that part of the plan. Now there's another part coming. We'll get to that in a moment. But for now, just know that part. All right? This message go out to all the world. By the way, support the work of the Ark through tithes and offerings. We appreciate it. We are full-time ministry, and how to do that is in the chat, and also hopefully it's in all of the descriptions. Okay, I got a couple more minutes I want to look at this. I want to go a little bit deeper into this idea of this idea of him suffering, right? His rulership, his reigning would follow his suffering. Oh, I want to go so much deeper, but I can't right now. So let me just say this. So everybody listening to that started feeling bad. Like, no way, man. I can't believe you're talking about suffering. You're the king. You're the Messiah. You're the promised one. You got all power. We've watched you. Your miracle working abilities is whoa. And your prayer life and everything about you is perfect. And you're talking about suffering? And they were making up in their mind like, oh, this is just ridiculous. I just don't see how he's going to do it. And this is the part that I want you to see. He said, and if any man will come after me. Oh, no, more. Yeah. What? Let him deny himself. Take up his cross daily and follow me. No, wait. What? Yeah. See, y'all talking about the Messiah suffering, and he's like, yeah, of course, this is prophesied. But not only me, it's also prophesied for you too. I know that's heavy. Some of y'all wasn't ready for that. I know. And that's why we get this next kingdom question. That's why this next important kingdom question shows up. What is that? He says to them, for whosoever will lose his life, shall save his life, shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. Verse 25. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? So he moves the disciples into this place where they're going to have to make a choice. They heard him talk about himself and they were feeling bad already. But what happens when he turns to them and says, you all read about my suffering, and I can see right now that you pretty upset about that. But one of the things that I guess you haven't read is your suffering. You're looking at the price that I'm going to have to pay for salvation. But obviously you all are not looking at the price that you're going to have to pay for salvation. And especially in today's day, because that pig-eating preacher told you that salvation was free. He told you salvation don't cost nothing. He told you that all you got to do is believe. He told you that, belief is a word of an intellectual agreement. It's a mental agreement. It's an assent. It's it's like, I consent to that. I understand that but it don't have nothing to do with doing. The Messiah never said that. In this passage right here, he is literally telling them that if they're going to be saved, if they're going to be delivered, if they're going into the kingdom, if they're going to actually save their life and save their soul, they are going to have to understand that they got to give up their whole life. They got to give up everything. So then they're posed with the question, and again, I'm out of time, but they're posed with this question: are you willing to do that? because that's what it takes to get in the kingdom. So just in case someone is saying, I don't know about all that, he was like, all right, then let's just put it on a scale that you might can understand. Let's just break it down. Let's talk about profit and loss. Let's look at profit and let's look at loss. And then I'll ask you a question. What is worth the profit if the loss is this? Or maybe vice versa. If you lose this and you gain this, or you gain this and lose this, which one is the best? Which one is, which in your mind, which one would you rather choose? Which one is actually going to work out for your advantage? We'll talk about this in the next video. I hope these are helping y'all. Because what I'm trying to do is stimulate your thinking. I'm trying to get you to just, the false doctrine wheels, the false doctrine that has clogged the gears of the mind that's supposed to keep your mind moving and functioning properly. It's been filled with a bunch of junk and the gears are locked. So with the word coming in, hopefully can wash you clean. It can bring the oil of joy, can get the gears of your mind working the way they're supposed to, so that you can see the real biblical salvation the way it was meant to be seen, and live the salvation the way it was meant to be lived, because it is actually in the Bible what we're supposed to do, and we got to do it every day. But that is for another video. If these messages are helping you, and you're being blessed by them, we survive through the tithe, biblical, and the offerings, biblical. And we ask that you would support the ministry through your tithes and through your offerings, to continue to pray for us as we continue to pray for you. And as you meditate on these verses that I've been talking about and bringing forth, you can also do your research on these verses. You don't have to just take my word for it. Do your research and compare scripture with scripture, because we going somewhere with this. We got another video coming. Anyway, one love, Zion, and hopefully I'll see you next time in the room. Until next time, keep looking up, for our redemption, it draws nigh. Shalom.